उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवतिर्नैष्टिके ओमज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दं माधवम्। So we are resuming our discussion from the verse 40, and this is part of the darshan of Lord Vishnu to the four Kumars. So the four Kumars had entered Vaikuntha, stalked by the gods, gotten angry, cursed them. The gods begged for forgiveness. The four Kumars were feeling bad about it, and then the Lord enters. So these verses are describing the beauty of the Lord as perceived by the four Kumars. Verse 40. Pitam shuke prithu nidambini vishprutanya kanchayalabhir virutaya vanmalya cha valgu prakoshtha valayan vinata sutamse vinayastahastam mitarena dhunanamabjam. He was adorned with a girdle that shone brightly on the yellow cloth covering his large hips, and he wore a garland of fresh flowers which was distinguished by humming bees. His lovely wrists were graced with bracelets, and he rested one of his hands on the shoulder of Garud, his carrier, and twirled a lotus with another hand. In commenting on this verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti makes this point that the verse is also constructed in a way that allows the reader to appreciate the form of the Lord as if he is visible in front of him. So first the verse calls attention to the bright yellow cloth covering the Lord's large hips. Then it goes to the shining belt, which is now the focus of the attention. Then it goes to the garland, which is surrounded by the humming bees, which is now the focus of attention. Then the fortunate bees are the focus of attention, that they have been given dominion over this service to the Lord. And then as one's glance moves, it goes to the attractive wrists adorned with bracelets, resting on the shoulder of Garud. With the other hand, the Lord is twirling a lotus. The Acharyas explained that the four Kumaras, they were yogis, and they were used to meditating on the Brahman in the lotus of their heart. And the nature of this meditation is that when it becomes mature, then it becomes steady or immovable. So in the final stages of yoga, we see dharana, we see the final stage is samadhi. Before that, we see dhyan. So these are all stages in which the meditation is becoming more and more fixed. And the Lord, by twirling the lotus, he is teasing the four Kumaras. That since you are fixed on the Brahman and the lotus of your heart, then why are you becoming unsteady on seeing me in a personal form? Why are you disturbing the steadiness of the Brahman? So this pastime is especially illustrative in terms of the superiority of the personal form with respect to the Paramatma form or the impersonal form. And the Acharyas, they comment extensively. Prabhupada also does that. They comment extensively to make this point again and again, that the four Kumars were monists, they were attached to the personal form and to the impersonal form. And then we see the change in heart when they see the personal form. Okay, next verse 41. Vidyut kshipam makara kundala mandartha gandhastalonas mukham animat kirtam dordan sanga vivare harata paradhya hare na kandhar gate na chakastubena. His countenance was distinguished by cheeks that enhanced the beauty of his alligator-shaped pendants, which outshone lightning. His nose was prominent, and his head was covered with a gem-studded crown. A charming necklace hung between his stout arms, and his neck was adorned with a gem known by the name Kastuba. So this is a continuation of the previous verse, where a description of the Lord's form continues. So we also see the mood of the glorification, so it is said that the beauty of the cheeks of the Lord enhance the beauty of the pendants, not the other way around. Generally, it is said that the ornaments, they increase the beauty of the person who wears it. Somebody wears a beautiful necklace, then it makes the person look more beautiful. But here, because the Lord is the absolute in perfection, there is nothing that can exceed him. So it's not the pendants that are enhancing the beauty of the Lord, but it's the Lord who is enhancing the beauty of the ornaments that he is wearing. And the verse talks about the Kastuba jewel. So the Kastuba jewel is one of the 14 valuable gems. It's the fourth of the 14 valuable gems that appear during the churning of the ocean. So the Kumaras were afraid that the Lord might be angry at them for cursing his devotees. The gatekeepers were lamenting that the Lord may be angry at them for disrespecting the Brahmins. And here we are seeing that the Lord, by his pleasing face and his affectionate glance, is reassuring everyone, the four Kumaras as well as the two gods. Verse 42. Atropashrastam iti chotsmitam indriyaha swana diya virachitam bahu sostavadyam mahyam bhavasya bhavatam cha bhajanam angam excuse me nemur nirikshya navit tadrisho murkahi. the exquisite beauty of Narayan, being many times magnified by the intelligence of his devotees, was so attractive that it defeated the pride of the goddess of fortune in being the most beautiful. My dear demigods, the Lord, who thus manifested himself, is worshipable by me. So this is Brahma speaking, is worshipable by me, by Lord Shiva, and by all of you. The sages regarded him with unsated eyes and joyously bowed their heads at his lotus feet. So the beauty of Lord Narayan is glorified that it defeated the pride of Lakshmi Devi at her at her beauty. Now, one may question that why would there be pride in Lakshmi Devi? She is an pure devotee, eternal associate of the Lord, and free of all contaminations. So why should there be pride in her? So Jiva Goswami explains that this can be understood in a few ways. So he says that as the word upadrishtam, so upa can also mean additionally displayed. Utsimitam, additionally she displayed pride, and the pride was on having Lord Vishnu, who was endowed with such exquisite beauty, as a husband. So her pride was not because of her beauty, but because of the beauty of Lord Vishnu. Or it could also mean that Lakshmi Devi, in the mood of a devotee, understands that whatever she has is the benediction of the Lord. So the fact that she has beauty is the Lord's benediction. And that gives her pride. That this is something that is given to me by the Lord. It is special. It represents his mercy. So the pride is because of the Lord, not because of herself. And the third is more, it's more as a wife affectionately thinks that I have surpassed Lord Vishnu with my superior form, quality, and sweetness. And I am worshipped by Brahma and others. So Jiva Goswami says, because of this and her prema, she says, I am so fortunate. So Utsmitam means she smiles attractively at him. So this is the pride of an affectionate wife towards her husband. So one of the points that is made over here, the phrase that is used is Swanam Dhiya Virichitam, that the beauty of the Lord is magnified or meditated by the intelligence of the devotees. So the meditation is explained in three ways. So the meditation is the service rendered by the devotees using their intelligence. The second way is that the service rendered by the devotees in their meditation. So this is Manas Seva. And the third is that this beauty that is manifested by the Lord is a reciprocation of the meditation of his devotees. So Srila Prabhupada comments more on the third aspect, and he makes this point that in Vaikuntha, because the devotees are attracted to the four-armed form of Lord Narayan, the Lord reciprocates by making himself most attractive to them, because that's what they are seeking. In Vrindavan, or in Golok Vrindavan, the devotees are more attracted to the beauty of Srimati Radharani. So the Lord reciprocates by making Radharani much more beautiful than himself, so much so that he himself is attracted to her beauty. So Prabhupada says that the adjustment is that the Lord, being Bhaktavatsal, or one who wants to please his devotees, assumes such features so that devotees like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and other demigods may be pleased. So this was the third explanation, which is the Lord's reciprocation. The second was Manas Seva, that meditated by the intelligence of his devotees. So I'm sorry, this is the first one, that the service rendered by the devotees using their intelligence. So this refers to the devotees understanding what the Lord wants through the scriptures, through other devotees, through their guru. So that understanding is by their intelligence, and then by their intelligence, they act in order to render service. So this refers to devotees like us, and also exalted devotees like Lord Brahma or Lord Shiv, who are not directly there in Vaikuntha, but they're worshipping him by understanding the nature of the worship. So we don't have direct experience with the Lord. The Lord has not come to tell us that do this for me, or I would like you to do that for me. And we don't have empirical interaction that the Lord is sitting now, let me fan him, or the Lord has eaten food, let me get water for him. So all that is missing. But yet we are rendering service through our intelligence. How? By following the acharyas, by following the scriptures. And the Manas Seva, of course, is those who are even more advanced, that through their intelligence, they can enter into the pastimes of the Lord. So that intelligence is a little different. So it's meditation. The term virachit, swanam diya virichitam is used to refer to either meditation or intelligence. This is the Manas Seva is more through meditation. So commenting on this verse, Jiva Goswami in Bhagavad Sandarbha, he concludes that these set of verses, they refute the notion of the Lord being impersonal. They also refute the notion of the Lord's form being material. They refute the notion of the Lord's form being mode of goodness, which is material word, but sometimes they say mode of goodness. So ultimately, he says these verses, they establish the fact that the Lord has a form, and his form is fully spiritual. So from verses 39 to 42, there is a description that we have just read. And I have also summarized this in a table, which is there in the document that I sent to you. Okay. Now let's see the influence of the Lord on the four Kumaras. So verse 43. Tasyarvinda nayanasya padarvind kinjal kamishra tulasi makarandavayu antargatasva vivarena chakar tesham Shanshobhamakshar Jusham Apichittatanvoho. When the breeze, carrying the aroma of tulsi leaves from the toes of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, entered the nostrils of those sages, they experienced a change both in body and in mind. Even though they were attracted to the impersonal Brahman understanding. So the Lord has appeared, and the four Kumaras, they are drinking in the beauty of the Lord. And as that is happening, there is a breeze carrying the aroma of the tulsi leaves that are adorning his lotus feet, and that enters their nostrils. And because of that, their mind and their bodies are affected. So their body is affected by the symptoms of ecstatic devotion. And their mind is affected because earlier on in their mind, they were attracted to the impersonal Brahman. But because of the effect, they are no longer. So why did this aroma have that effect on them? So Sridhar Swami explains that when a person is making advancements in the impersonal Brahman, then the process that they use is to divest themselves and the object of the meditation of any qualities, nirgun, which means no form, no odor, no sound, nothing, nirgun. But now the four Kumars, one by one, they are being inundated by gunas, by qualities. So previous set of verses, we saw how they were affected by the beauty, by the form of the Lord. Later we'll see how they will be affected by the sound of the Lord. Here they are being affected by the aroma that is coming. So all this is driving them away from the nirgun conception to the fact that the Lord has all qualities. He has form, he has smell, he has sound. So this is heralding their quick transition from being impersonalists to become devotees. From Sridhar Swami says that from a bodily perspective, they are experiencing the sattvic bhavs, like the hairs on the body is standing, and they have goosebumps, and from and in their mind, their conception is changing from impersonal to personal. So Vishwanath Chakravarti has a very interesting take on this, and he uses an allegory to describe the change in the heart of the four Kumaras. So he says that when there is a war and there is a king that desires to conquer another kingdom, then he follows a certain strategy. And what's the strategy? That he will first kill the leader of the kingdom. Then he plunders the treasury. And then he disturbs the peace and conquers the kingdom with his troops. So he says that's the strategy used by kings to defeat other kingdoms. First kill the king, then take away their wealth so that they cannot they cannot buy mercenaries or soldiers. Disturb the peace so that there is chaos, and then conquer it with the troops. So he says that in the four Kumaras, they are impersonalists, and the mind is the leader, because it is through the mind, through the notion of Gyan, that they attach themselves to the impersonal Brahman. So the vision of the Lord had destroyed the peace of the mind. So the leader has been killed. The treasure of the impersonalist is meditation. So what do they meditate on? Nothing. But seeing the form of the Lord, they are drinking in. They are meditating on each limb of the Lord, one after another. The thoughts of the Lord is disturbing the tranquility of their mind. And then finally he says the aroma of Tulsi is the soldiers that have invaded the country. And now the defeat is complete. So the king of Bhakti has soundly defeated and conquered the kingdom of impersonalism. So he says that one might take offense at the aroma of Tulsi and say that it is improper to enter into someone else's body without permission. So just as it is improper for the four Kumaras to try and enter the internal sanctum of the Lord, the Tulsi can also be held to fault. But then he says that it is true, but it does not matter, because Tulsi is representing devotion to the Lord, and Bhakti is the king of everything. So the king has no boundaries, especially the supreme king, the emperor, has no boundaries. Bhakti is the emperor. So yes, there is etiquette and protocol, one kingdom to another, but not for Bhakti. And ultimately, the ends justify the means. So this is an emperor that is entering not for taking away, for giving valuable treasures. So the position of Tulsi is also glorified. So ultimately, through logic and through more flowery analogies, the point is being made that the path of a monist is to deny their senses as a means of perfection. But the Kumaras are experiencing the opposite. That they're experiencing more and more perfection by engaging their senses. Their eyes, their nose, their mind, they've all been inundated with bliss that is a million times greater than that of the impersonal Brahman. Which is why they have quickly given up their modest conception and have become devotees. Okay, next verse, 44. Devamushya vadana sita padma kosham udvikshya sundarata radakundahasam Labdha shisha punar avikshatadyam angri dvandam nakharuna manishrayanam nidhyada. The Lord's beautiful face appeared to them like the inside of a blue lotus, and the Lord's smile appeared to be a blossoming jasmine flower. After seeing the face of the Lord, the sages were fully satisfied. And when they wanted to see him further, they looked upon the nails of his lotus feet, which resemble rubies. Thus, they viewed the Lord's transcendental body again and again. And so, they finally achieved meditation on the Lord's personal feature. So, by the influence of the Tulasi, it is said that the aroma is carried by airs, and the airs purified the airs within the four Kumars. So the airs within the body are called the pran. So the aroma, the air carrying the aroma of Tulasi purified the prans. And dependent on the prans are the senses. So the purification was external as well as internal. But because their life airs were purified, because their senses were purified, they are now able to even more perceive the sweetness of the Lord. So it says that they certainly VAI, it says they certainly VAI saw the Lord's face like the inner part of a blue lotus without the rough outer covering. And they saw his beautiful lips. They saw the smile on his lips, which was even more beautiful. And the nature of this beauty is that it is satisfying and unsatisfying at the same time. So we see that they're fully satisfied by seeing the beauty of the Lord's face, but they're unsatisfied also. So they seek the shelter of his angri, of his beautiful feet. They look at his ruby nails, and they look at the sole of his feet. So Sridhar Swami comments on this, that the Lord's beauty is so difficult to take in, and the devotee is so greedy to take it all in, that it's like somebody taking too much of intoxicants. So the four Kumaras were experiencing that stage, that they were so intoxicated by the beauty that they began to internally meditate on the limbs of the Lord. So the Acharyas also comment over here that this darshan of the four Kumaras was a result of the benedictions by the devotees on them. So in verse 46, we see the blessings of their father Brahma, and we also see the blessings of their brother Narad. So Brahma was initially a bit angry on the four Kumars, but then he understood their purity, and he actually blesses them. And this is the reference verse 46. He blesses them to get devotion. So the word is used as, the word that is used there is Pitra Anuvarnite Raha. Then how did Brahma bless them? By telling them, by speaking to them. So Krishna Katha, that he blessed them through Krishna Katha. And because the Lord's mercy quickly follows the mercy of the devotee, we see that the four Kumaras are invited by the Lord to enter into Vaikuntha. And mercifully, he is now giving his own darshan. Also, it's mentioned over here that although the four Kumaras by this were transformed from the impersonal conception to the personal conception, but because of their offenses to Jaya Vijay, they attained only Shantarasya. They did not attain Dasyaras because there was still some contamination due to their offenses. Okay, I'll do one more verse and then we can stop for a discussion. Pumsham gatim mrigayatam iha yoga marge dhyana sapaddam bahumatam nayana bhiramam Om samam vapur darsyanam ananya siddher autapatiktaha samagranan yutam astabhogahi. This is the form of the Lord which is meditated upon by the followers of the yoga process. And it is pleasing to the yogis in meditation. It is not imaginary but factual, as proved by the great yogis. The Lord is full in 8 kinds of achievement. But for others, these achievements are not possible in full perfection. So for those who are desiring liberation, if they do not have bhakti, then because of that lack of bhakti, they will also lack the desire to experience the sweetness of the personal form of Lord. And what the verse is saying is that those who are mature in yoga will actually have that bhakti in them. So the point that is made is that the success of any path is dependent on bhakti. So when the word yogis is used, then one imagines the person performing Astanga yoga, samadhi or dharana or dhyan for long periods of time. But they won't get success, or at least the ultimate success, unless they have a healthy support of bhakti. And what does that bhakti translate to? That when they meditate on the form of the Lord, the form that has been described. Prabhupada says it is specifically mentioned that the form of the Lord as the 400 Narayan is the object of meditation for the followers of Yoga Marg. And the verse says that Bahumatam. Bahumatam means Brahma is saying with humility that this is not just my opinion. It is Bahumatam. It is the opinion of many authorities that this is the form that is suitable for meditation. So Brahma is glorifying the Lord over here as endowed with 8 perfections. So the 8 perfections are mentioned as sound, touch, form, taste, smell. So the first 5 are essentially the 5 senses or tanmatras, object of the senses. And the other 3 are mercy, action, and power. But the point that is made is that they are all arising from his Swarup. So the word ot patikaha is used. That they are not material impositions. They are they're coming from his swarup and bhoge, and they're experienced by others through bhakti. So the devotees out of the 8, they experience the first 7 items, which is everything other than power. Now the devotees, so the last one, power, is the inclusive definition of Bhagwan, which is full of 6 opulences: a beauty, wealth, strength, knowledge, fame, renunciation. So, the point that is made here, that those who do not have devotion, they will experience, or they can experience up to Bhagwan, which are these 6 opulences. But it is only the devotees who will experience the other 7 kinds of perfections, which is the 5 senses and mercy and action. So only the devotees will hear the Lord, will touch him, will see his form, will smell the tulasi, will taste his prasadam. So this is pointing to the exclusivity of bhakti. Another point that is made over here is that the description of the beauty of this Lord is notional. So it follows the logic of Shaka Chandra Nyaya. So Shaka Chandra Nyaya is pointing out the moon in the context of a shaka, a branch of a tree. It's the child is said that you follow the tree, follow the branch. Now perched on the branch is the moon. The child says, okay, there is a moon on the branch, but the moon is actually in the sky. So because we do not have a way to actually perceive the beauty of the Lord, so the beauty is explained in ways that we can understand. So in Madhurya Kadamni, Vishwanath Chakravarti, he repeats the words of an exalted devotee, and who is trying to describe the beauty of the Lord, and then he begins to lament. He says that I realized that I was offending you by my poor intelligence. I was trying to compare half a useless mustard seed to the golden Mount Meru, a chickpea to a touchstone, a jackal to a lion, and a mosquito to Garud. I was thinking I'm praising the Lord, and my inept poetry became famous among common people. But now for one moment, I behold the splendorous beauty of your form before my eyes, and I have become ashamed. My words of comparison are like the teeth of a restless cow trying to defile the desired creeper of your beauty, but they are unable to do so. So this is just adding the bhav, that when Krishna is being described, then the description is to give us a sense of the beauty of Krishna, using terms, using analogies, comparisons of that we are familiar with. But Krishna's beauty is beyond comprehension. And Srila Prabhupada in his purport, he also writes at length on this tattva of the superiority of bhakti in terms of Astanga Yoga. The fact that Astanga Yoga can only become successful if one develops an attachment to the personal form of the Lord. Okay, I'll pause here and see if there is any discussion.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, one question, Prabhuji. I'm asking this question because I could see the impersonalistic tendencies within me, especially while appreciating Lord's beauty, like when we see the deities, and when we hear such a glorification of a Lord's form. Sometimes it is so like bewildering, uh, because it, we have we need the senses like eyes, nose and ears, and they all, we are dependent on them to perceive something. And also the genitals, like the private parts, and they are all needed for procreation and evacuation purposes. But uh, because Lord is in no impurities, and he doesn't need to depend on a particular sense to perform certain activities, especially like to be honest, like the Lord is also like having private parts and all those things. It is kind of bewildering. I can logically to an extent accept, but how to cultivate uh, 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 like relishing Lord's beauty instead of deviating mind because of the bewilderment, or kind of surprise kind of thing, like uh, how do we can you share more understanding, and how should we deal with such kind of um, thoughts, and also how to appreciate better Lord's beauty?
So, so one part that you were saying that the Lord's genitals or evacuating part, they are generally described, or they're always described in the context of the Virat Purush. At least I haven't ever come across a description of the Lord's personal form in that in that way. Virat Purush is a little different. That is seeing the form of the Lord in the material world. The description is not that much designed to invoke bliss or love. It is more for Aishwarya. It's more to get a sense of the greatness of the Lord and the fact that how he is the cause of everything. The I guess the main theme of your question was that how do we, like the four Kumars became ecstatic on seeing the form of the Lord. How do we develop that spirit also? I don't have I don't have a like a to-do kind of an answer for you. I think the word that you used is very appropriate, that it's a cultivation, that we cultivate that mode. When we see the deities, we understand them as non-different from Krishna. It's something that that there's no particular trick, so to speak, that if you do this will happen. It's something that you cultivate, just like you're cultivating your bhakti, you're cultivating your the purity of your heart, you're cultivating chanting. So it's just the cultivation that you will do that will manifest.
Sure, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji. Because sometimes it is a bit bewildering when Lord all performs conjugal activities and all. Like, if we hear peripherally, like, it is not that confusing. But when we really think that Lord is performing that activities, is a bit kind of bewildering, because of my own conditioning too. But so, yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay, there are no more.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, one question. In the prior verse, when we stated that four Kumaras, when they when they saw the Lord, like transformation from impersonal to personal, they gain into Shantaras. So you said they did not get the Dasyaras. So is it not like when anyone has the vision of Lord directly, they are blessed with almost all the rasas?
All the rest? Where does that? Where is
No,
that?
I'm asking a question. Is it not like only they will be restricted to certain rasas based on their state of mind?
That's the understanding that. So the rasa is the nature of the. So is the nature of the relationship that the jiva aspires to have with the Lord, right? So if you look in, even if you look in Vaikuntha, there are there's a spectrum of rasas. There are trees and there are animals, and then there are four armed forms. Some of them are in Shantaras, some of them are in Dasyaras. In Vrindavan, you have the higher rasas also, but there also you have Shantaras. You have the soil, the trees. They are in Shantaras. They have vision of the Lord. The Lord steps on them. The Prabhupada would say that the blade of grass in Vrindavan is fully conscious, and it is waiting to cushion the Lord's lotus feet. That's the service. But they're in Shantaras. So it's the jiva's desire. It's not that that you see the Lord in all the rasas manifest. It's whatever the jiva wants, whatever the jiva aspires for. That's the rasa that they take. In case of the four Kumaras, I mentioned that because Vishwanath Chakravarti mentions it. Jiva Goswami also mentions it. What does it translate to? Does it translate to that the four Kumaras' desire was Shantaras and not Dasyaras? Does it mean that they could have gotten a higher ras had it not been for their offense? It's difficult to answer that question. But the general understanding is that because of this, they were not able to get access to the higher rasas.
Perfect, Prabhu. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So we'll go on to the next verse 46. I think we'll try and finish this chapter today. Kumaro chuhu yuantrahito hridi gato piduratmanam tvam. Sorry, I missed that. Sadveyano nayana mulam anantaradaha yareva karna vivarena guam gatona pitranuvarnita rahabhavat udhavena. The Kumara said, "Our dear Lord, you are not manifested to rascals, even though you are seated within the heart of everyone. But as far as we are concerned, we see you face to face, although you are unlimited. These statements we have heard from you, from our father Brahma, through the years have now been actually realized by your kind appearance." So in 5 verses from 46 to 50, we see the prayers of the Kumaras to the Lord. And we see over here that they're expressing regret at their impersonalistic tendencies. So when they're saying you're not manifest to rascals, even though you're seated within the heart of everyone, they're talking about themselves, because they had spent long time meditation. What were they meditating on? The impersonal Brahma. And all the time they're saying that you were seated in our heart, but we were not able to see you. Why? Because we are rascals. Another way of saying that we were contaminated. But now they are seeing the Lord face to face. Why? So it's interesting to see that they're first giving credit to their guru. So they're saying that Pita Anuvarnita, that because Pitra Anuvarnita, that because our father had described it. So because of the mercy of Krishna Katha that we received through the disciplic succession, Raha Bhavat Udbhavena, about the mysteries of your appearance. So the devotion of the Lord is actually being bestowed upon them through Karna Vivarnena, through the ears. So the verse is actually glorifying two things: glorifying Sampradaya, glorifying the position of the Guru, the disciplic succession, and Karna Vivarena, and glorifying Krishna Katha. That long before they met the Lord, they had received the mercy of Lord Brahma, their Guru, and that mercy manifested in terms of Krishna Katha. Today they are saying that has matured. So in Priti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami, he says that this verse illustrates the sthai bhav of a Gyan Bhakta. So it indicates that the four Kumars' association with the Lord has been elevated from impersonalist to devotees in Shantaras. So he makes this point that the verse communicates through the mood of the glorification of the four Kumars, that they're manifesting Shantaras. I'm not very clear. He does not elaborate. I'm not very clear that what aspects of the of these statements they indicate Shantaras. Maybe if it was a higher ras, then they would have manifested desires to serve the Lord or desires to associate with the Lord differently. Now they are essentially basically expressing satisfaction just as being there and seeing the Lord. But the point that Jiva Goswami makes, that this verse indicates the sthai bhav of those whose bhakti is mingled with Gyan. And the sthai bhav for Gyan Bhaktas is Shantaras. Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he says that, or he comments on the word Duratma. So the sages say that there are those who meditate on you, but not on your impersonal form, and they are Duratma. Whether they're talking about themselves or others, the point that Prabhupada picks on is that without bhakti, the efforts are useless. So he compares the Duratma to a Mahatma. That Mahatma, they have a liberal heart because all their endeavors are imbued with bhakti. And without bhakti, even though it's an endeavor that is ugra, that is difficult to do, requires a lot of effort, it's still a symptom of a Duratma. Okay, next verse. Verse 47. Tam tvan vidama bhagavan paramatma tattvam satve na samprati ratim rachayantamesham Yatte nutapa viditer dridda bhakti yoge udgranthyo hridi vidayor munayo viraga. We know that you are the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy, through unflinching devotional service. By great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. So previous verse, they were glorifying their Guru and the Sampradaya and Krishna Katha. Now they're talking about where does this potency come from? Where is the potency of Krishna Katha come from? Or the Sampradaya or the Guru? And they're acknowledging the fact that all these processes are potent because you make it so. So they're using themselves as an example. That we became devotees from impersonalist through this process. So what's the process that they have described? They say that we heard from Brahma. This is in verse 46. Then by the benedictions. Benedictions is by the mercy, by the goodwill, by the benedictions of Brahma and our brother Narad. So this appears in the purport of verse 44. Then third, by actually seeing the form of the Lord. So this is verses 38 to 42. By smelling the aroma of the tulsi leaf. 43. And then they say anutap. So anutap is because of remorse in us. Can also be humility, can also be remorse, but essentially they are saying that we committed an offense in cursing the gods, and because of that we should not have been able to see you. But because we had genuine anutap, so this is verse 36 and 37, we were purified of that offense. So Srila Prabhupada in the purport, he gives us the essential message of the prayers that is there in verse 46 and 47. So he says that this conveys the superiority and inclusiveness of the personal form of the Lord. So if one sees the personal form of the Lord, then one has seen everything. One has seen Brahman, one has seen Paramatma. So this is why the Kumars confirm that you are the ultimate absolute truth. The impersonalists may argue that since the personality of Godhead was so nicely decorated, he was therefore not the absolute truth. But here it is confirmed that all the variegatedness of the absolute platform is constituted of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. So this using this logic of nicely decorated, the impersonalists, they derive two conclusions from it. One is that if the Lord is needing decoration, then he's not absolute. There is something else that is making the Lord more beautiful. And the second is that these jewelries, they are material. So if the Lord needs rubies and diamonds, then it attaches a material conception on the form, which means that it cannot be spiritual. And Srila Prabhupada negates that by saying that everything is on the platform of Shuddha Sattva. The form of the Lord, the jewelry of the Lord, the aroma coming from the Lord, the smile, the glances, everything is Shuddha Sattva. So this verse, it talks also about an interesting interplay between between effort and mercy. So so one should acknowledge that it is difficult to get darshan of the personal form of the Lord. So just like people cannot see powerful kings, they only deal with the power of the king, or they deal with his representatives. But yet the king may invite a qualified citizen. Why? Because the king wants to. So this is the mercy. Now, the mercy is bestowed on whom? Who is qualified to receive the mercy? So the mercy in this context is described, or the qualifications to receive the mercy is described in the scriptures. And Prabhupada explains that if one is very greedy to enhance his Krishna consciousness, there is a great boon. Tatra lolyam ekalam moolam. This is the best path available. One possessing such a jewel can attract Krishna's mercy. One cannot force Krishna to invite him. So Prabhupada further explores this interplay between mercy and qualification. So many times people consider mercy to be absolute. That whenever the Lord is merciful, he will call me. What can I do? I am a mere insignificant jiva. There is nothing that I can do. All I can do is wait for the mercy of the Lord. The fallacy of that is that such statements are not made from a platform of real humility. They're more made from a platform of lethargy and laziness, or really because of lack of desire. So there is no burning desire to enter the Lord's kingdom. So they say whenever the Lord is ready, it says his kingdom, whenever they are ready, he will call him. It's like a student who refuses to prepare for the examination to an institution and says whenever the institution is ready, they will invite. And that will go on forever. So, and Prabhupada makes an additional point that the mercy of the Lord is actually available to everyone. But the mercy can be received when the person is qualified. So it's like there is light that is available everywhere. But if a person is keeping the eyes closed, then the person will be in darkness. So the mercy is there, but then you have to make some effort. Open your eyes. Small effort, but you have to make that effort. So because the four Kumars in these two verses, they talk about both. They talk about mercy and qualification. The Acharyas speak about it. So summarizing, there is a lengthy description given by Jiva Goswami in which he paraphrases a conversation between the four Kumars and the Lord, which basically brings forth this interplay. But Prabhupada has explained this nicely, so I won't go into that. But summarizing it, what the lesson that we can understand is that the path of attaining the mercy of the Lord is bhakti. By following this process of bhakti, one can get access to the Lord's spiritual form. And one can ultimately get access to the complete mercy of the Lord. Okay. Verse 48. Natyatikam vignantya api te prasadam kimanya darpita bhayam bru bhavnayaste yang twadangari sharana bhavat kathayah kirtanya tirtha yasha kushala rosha janaha yasha kushala rasa gyaha. Persons who are very expert and most intelligent in understanding things as they are, engage in hearing narrations of the auspicious activities and pastimes of the Lord, which are worth chanting and worth hearing. Such persons do not care, even for the highest material benediction, namely liberation, to say nothing of other less important benedictions, like material happiness of the heavenly planets. So the previous two verses, they talked about mercy and qualification. This verse elaborates on qualification. That what is the characteristics of the person who is now able to receive the mercy of the Lord. So they are expert and most intelligent in understanding things as they are. And what do? They engage in hearing and narrations, Shravan Kirtan. So essentially they are engaging in bhakti. That's their qualification. And what do they achieve? They achieve that which is far, far superior to even the highest material benediction of liberation. So this is also a realization of the Kumaras of their own situation. So at one point, the Kumaras had aspired for liberation. That's the mood of impersonalists, to become liberated. But now they're making this point that we don't care for liberation. Now, they are, even in the current state, they are much more exalted than heavenly kingdoms. So that does not bother them. But they were impersonalists. They were looking for Brahma Nirvana. So they are also sharing their own realizations. The acharyas say that this is also the four Kumars. So there's also a prayer that is embedded in this verse, in which they are seeking protection for the offense that they have committed. So they're saying that they're contaminated with two kinds of offenses. One offense was desiring impersonal liberation. Second offense is Vaishnava Prad, cursing the doorkeepers. And the point that they are trying to make here, they'll elaborate on that. The point that they are trying to make over here is that take away liberation from us. Take away the pleasures of heavenly kingdoms from us. You can condemn us to be in the most hellish conditions. The only thing that we are asking from you is that we are always engaged in hearing the narration of the auspicious activity and pastimes of the Lord. So their mood is becoming very, very similar to that of the doorkeepers. The doorkeepers had also asked for similar praise, and we'll see this getting expanded in subsequent verses. But the seed is being put forth in this verse. Maybe I won't be able to finish. We'll see. Kamam bhavasva vrijine niryeshunahasta che tulivadyadi nute padayarameta vachas chanas tulsivad yadite angrishobaha purye tate gunagane yadi karnarandara. O Lord, we pray that you let us be born in any hellish condition of life, just as long as our hearts and minds are always engaged in the service of your lotus feet. Our words are made beautiful by speaking of your activities, just as tulsi leaves are beautified when offered unto your lotus feet. And as long as our ears are always filled with the chanting of your transcendental qualities. So now here they're saying explicitly what they were saying implicitly previously. That so they're not. So the verse is not there to indicate that the four Kumars are praying that let us be born in hellish condition of life. The implicit understanding is what they're saying is that if because of the offenses that we have committed, there is some punishment that you have to give us, then give us this punishment. That you give us a hellish condition of life. But the only thing that we are asking is that we are always aware of your glories, and that our words are chanting your activities. So they use the example of tulsi leaves. That the tulsi leaves in themselves are there is nothing exceptionally special about the tulsi leaves. There are other plants that have more ornate leaves. Some of them are more fragrant, some of them are more beautiful. But what makes tulsi leaves beautiful is that they're accepted by the lotus feet of the Lord. The connection with the Lord is what makes it beautiful. So similarly, they're saying that we don't want to just say words, they're useless. But allow us to say words that are beautified by the connection to you. In other words, more poetically, what they're saying is that even if you're born in the hellish conditions, let us still have the opportunity to do Krishna Katha. So this verse again has very lengthy purports by the various acharyas because it reflects a change in the mood of impersonalists to devotion. That at one point the impersonalists are looking to get the ultimate pleasure of becoming God, and now we see over here, out of humility, they're asking for all kinds of material distress. But as long as it gives them the ability to be connected to the Lord through Shravan and Kirtan. So Prabhupada says that this is the advantage of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. One may be put in any condition, but God gives them the prerogative to chant Hare Krishna. In any condition of life, if one goes on chanting, he will never be unhappy. Okay, next verse, 50. Pradus chakartayadidam puruhutarupam tene shanivritam avapuralam drishnaha tasmaidam bhagvate namaid videma yonatmanam durudya bhagavan pratatitaha. O Lord, we therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto your eternal form as the personality of Godhead, which you have so kindly manifested before us. Your supreme eternal form cannot be seen by unfortunate, less intelligent persons. But we are so much satisfied in our mind and vision to see it. So gratitude. We see the four Kumaras expressing gratitude. That so even though they consider themselves as offenders, and two ways, impersonalism and Vaishnava Prad. So they're saying, despite the fact that we are offenders, you're so kindly given us your personal, your personal audience. And Prabhupada in the purport says that by the grace of their father and spiritual master Brahma, they understood the eternal spiritual form of the Lord and felt completely satisfied. So one of the questions asked was earlier on was, how were the four Kumars able to enter Vaikuntha if they were not pure devotees? And why did they, if they were Atmaramis, why did they get angry? So these verses answer the first part of the question, that they entered because of the mercy of the Lord, following the mercy of the Lord's devotees. Vishwanath Chakravarti makes the point that the mercy of the devotee is so quickly followed by the mercy of the Lord that they're considered to be non-different, and they're used interchangeably. So when we say the mercy of the Lord, we understand that the mercy of the devotee must have been there, and vice versa. When we say the mercy of the devotee, we understand the mercy of the Lord is there. So Jiva Goswami in this in the commentary on this, he also quotes a verse from the Bhagavatam 12th canto, 12th chapter, verse 69, from another impersonalists who became attracted to Krishna. And this verse is spoken by Sukadev Goswami. So he says, so this is Sukadev Goswami saying, let me offer my respectful obeisance unto my spiritual master, the son of Vyasadev, Sukadev Goswami. So this is not spoken by Sukadev Goswami, it's spoken by Sutta Goswami. It is he who defeated all inauspicious things within the universe. Although in the beginning he was absorbed in the happiness of Brahman realization and was living in a secluded place, giving up all other kinds of consciousness, he became attracted to the most melodious pastimes of Lord Krishna. He therefore mercifully spoke the supreme Puran known as the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the light of the absolute truth and which describes the activities of the Lord. So with this verse, the Kumars, they've concluded the prayers of the Lord, and this is the conclusion of the chapter also. So I'll end here. We still have a few minutes if there is any discussion.
It just seems like the four Kumaras had to basically go through more setbacks or suffering than Jai Vijay, and it seems like it is because it is more because they had an impersonal conception of the Lord before. I mean, because offenses was committed from both sides, right? I mean, Jai Vijay's side as well as four Kumar's side, which is that one was impersonalist. I mean, one were impersonalist and the other were personalist. So it seems that they had to basically remain in the uh, shanta mood,
It
even
does
though
look, yeah, it does look like that, because as far as the doorkeepers were concerned, they did their time and they were reinstated in their position. So there was no lasting impact of it. But it does seem that for the four Kumars, it did have a lasting impact.
even though they were like regretting and asking forgiveness and offering prayers and such beautiful prayers and everything. I mean, it just doesn't seem to negate it. That's
It does not. You make a valid point. I was also thinking about that. So the couple of ways, at least I was trying to understand it. So one is that they have been elevated from impersonalism to bhakti, right? So that is no small thing. So whatever gratitude they're expressing and whatever purification that they're going through, that is that is the uh, to that the Lord is reciprocated by bestowing bhakti on them. Now, why did they not get a higher rasa? It's a little difficult to understand it. The only explanation that comes to my mind is that this is what their desire is. Because when you look at a more, if you abstract away from the situation and look at it from a more philosophical perspective, every jiva is linked to the Lord according to the rasa that the jiva desires. The Lord is Rasa Raj; He has all the rasas, but the jiva, based on his free will, picks a certain rasa. So that's the only explanation that comes, that this is what the four Kumars desired, and that's what they were awarded. It does not say that explicitly anywhere, right? So this is, I'm just extrapolating based on other facts.
Right. And Praji, just curious, like those who like decorating, or those who like artistic things, are they more in the Shanta mood? Can we say, just like women are more artistic and all that? Are they? Uh,
I don't think so. I at least um, so I'm not clear. Where did you get that? Because in this chapter, the glorification of the Lord by the four Kumaras is not really a reflection of the Shantaras. What was the reflection of the Shantaras, and this comes through more in a subtle way, is the fact that they were simply satisfied by their glorification. And perhaps the reason the Acharya says that they did not go for something more. Let us serve your lotus feet. Let us allow us to do some personal service. So that is Shantaras, that you see something beautiful, you appreciate it. And when the rasas become more evolved, then you try to interact with it. So that's when the rasas become into dasya and higher rasa. So that's my understanding. That's why the acharyas say that they were in Sakyaras, not because they were appreciating the beauty of the Lord, but because that's what they did not go beyond that, or at least within this in interaction, they did not aspire to go beyond that. Specifically, I think those who desire to decorate the Lord, etc., um, uh, talking about rasas, at least at our stage, is, it's kind of like being in a room where the windows are closed and trying to describe the sun. So it's difficult to understand. Srila Prabhupada, once he saw one of his disciples had very, very beautifully decorated the deities. And then he glorified her. He said, you achieved bhava. And the devotee, she still shares that. Obviously, when Prabhupada tells something to somebody, it stays in the heart. And of course, with humility, she also says that he was just trying to encourage me. I know I haven't achieved it. But the trigger to that was when he saw how beautifully she had decorated the deities. So there's something that's that gives a different perspective.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, many times we hear that Sukadeva Goswami is the parrot of Radharani in Golak Vrindavan, And sometimes we also hear that like in this world he is on the Brahmabhuta platform, like as a Brahman realized impersonalist kind of, until he hears the Bhagavatam, those two verses that you mentioned earlier. So Prabhuji, so that impersonalism in Sukadeva Goswami is just a pastime, just that Yogamaya is covered for the purpose of executing pastime, or when did that impersonalism came in for Sukadeva Goswami?
So not much is actually known of the antecedents of Sukadeva Goswami. The fact that that Sukha was a parrot of Srimati Radharani, it appears in certain Puranas. It does not obviously appear in the Bhagavatam, and it's something that is one of those things that not much is spoken about, either confirming or denying it. There are certain stutis that glorify Sukha as Sukha and Shari, the two parrots of Radha and Krishna. They're more, they're more to glorify the moods of devotees. So specifically, there is not much mentioned about the fact that that he was a parrot and he got. How did he become an impersonalist? Was he cursed or whatever happened? So at least for me, it is difficult to answer that question.
Sure, Prabhuji. No problem, Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sure. Okay, so if there are no more questions, we'll end over here. Thank you. Anchakalpatarubhayashchit kripa sindhubhyaeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.